inside the South Sydney half. So a feed for Balmain. Scrums at the moment 5-3 in favour of the Tigers, and the penalty is 4-3 Balmain's way. Freeman to Neil, to Gary Jack. Reverse with McNeil into open space again. He picks up Brasher. Brasher gives it to Grant. Grant's got plenty of toe. He can't get away from O'Day though. He goes again, and it's Maven who comes after him. Gets his ball away to McGarry, and referee McCullum thought that travelled forward. So the scrum will be put down there. But Balmain looking lethal once more out wide. Plenty of pace in that outside set of backs. And Brasher and Grant combining well. McNeil giving them room. It's all working well, and got two very capable wingers in O'Brien and McGarry to finish. Scrum win there to Coleman. Well, more correctly, I suppose, to Garlick, the South Sydney hooker, but his feed was successful anyway. It's Davidson offloading it to Sean Garlick at 6 metres out from his quarter. Sedmed in the defence. Boyle has a run himself. Taken there by Parrish, also by Brooks. Not leaving him alone quickly enough for McCullum's liking, so he's been consistent on that rule. It's happened for a penalty each way in the match so far. South can do with a clearing kick to relieve pressure at this stage. 22-0 to Balmain with 5.5 minutes to half time. Tap taken by Garlick. He leaves McCarthy on his own and scurries a few metres himself to just inside Tiger territory. Here's Fennick. Hits and spins, gets it away through Davidson to Coleman, who finds a gap. Took everybody by surprise by running there. He'll play it to Garlick. Gives it to Blake. And Brown can't hold it. Really only went with it with one hand as McGarry picks up and gets clear. And it takes Blake to take him around the legs. Some of the Balmain backs may well have been inside the 5 in that move. Benny Elias brilliantly plays for the penalty, gets it, and Phil Blake, for his obstruction, gets 5 minutes in the sin bin. So that's insult to injury. It was a smart piece of work by Benny Elias. Great schemer. He realised Blake was there and he bounced the ball off him really in that pass. This is McFarlane. Freeman across to Edmed. Takes on Hill. Also Davidson in the tackle. That was Coleman around the legs. Benny Elias gave it to the blind, but it comes back open side through Roach and Neil. Brasher onto Jack. Gives it to Grant. Grant's got McGarry. The defence coming at him, and O'Day trying to hold him, and with the assistance around the legs of Brown, he can get him down just short of the line. It's only about a metre out, McGarry. It's Brasher at dummy half. Freeman got Jack on the inside, and Jack did call for it, and Freeman had intentions of trying to get it to him, but they got cut off. Comes to Roach. Roach goes to the dummy. The big blocker goes straight ahead. Benny Elias can't hold the pass, then ricochets to Hill, who does well to take it. Tries to finally wrestle his way about 10 metres, 12 metres out. McFarlane was the tackler. Here's Fennick on the blind side. Driven backwards. Tackle there basically by Roach, with McFarlane assisting. There's Carroll. Blocker Roach again in the defence with Edmed this time. South trying to get out of their own quarter. Steve Maven comes in to help the forwards, but he's taken very quickly there by Brooks. And Mabon from fullback also assisting. It's the last tackle. Rod Mabon made a few metres outside the quarter. Be Coleman to put it down the ground. Just bounces inside the line to get out around halfway. Brian had his reservations as to whether it might go out on the full, but it held up enough in the breeze to just bounce and go out. So it's Balmain to feed this through Freeman. Pack hardly down really. It was a strange formation there. The Balmain have it. It's out in the centres now with Gary Jack after Brasher gave it to him there. He plays it about 9 metres short of halfway. O'Brien coming all the way around from his left wing, and he's taken strenuously there by Brown and Hill. Brasher at dummy half to Freeman, to Roach coming back inside. He's wrestled down by Davidson and also by Fennick. Play it halfway through Elias, who dummies and goes and makes open space again. Elias puts the chip kick in. He's got good chases from Freeman. The ball sitting pretty well in the in goal, and it's Brasher who dives but can't quite make it. It goes dead off Brasher according to referee McCullum, so they'll come back to the quarter line for a South Sydney tap. But Balmain again showing great enterprise, very, very good attacking play. Very exciting stuff for the Balmain supporters, and a touch and go thing for another try. This is Boyle who took the tap up. Garlick now dummies, and he tries to do an Elias. He makes a couple of metres. Fennick gives it to Carroll. And McCullum says that the Balmain backs again are inside that 5. So another penalty to Souths. And in that area, it's 5-all. Scrums at the moment favouring Balmain by 7-4. Got about a minute and a quarter left to half time. 22-0 for the Tigers. South's last opportunity to post any points in the first half. Davidson gives it to Garlick. He's taken around the legs by Edmed. Roach over the top. Here's Carroll. Running slightly sideways, but he straightens well and takes several defenders with him. A dummy from Fennick trying to get away. Dummy half there. Garlick can't handle it. McFarlane picks up well. Gets Brasher. He gives it on to McGarry. He's got a straight run to the line. Is he quick enough? Hill comes across in cover. A former centre playing lock. He's got enough toe to head off McGarry. Gary Jack gives it up to Elias. Elias, good ball for McNeil. Michael Neal always on the spot, of course. Comes around Brown. Gives a long ball across to Matt Parrish. Parrish draws the defence, going straight ahead. They hang off him. It's inside to Freeman. Freeman challenged there by Boyle. When really there were plenty of numbers on the left. To keep going left might have been Balmain's option, but they've still got the chance now. Elias gives it to Roach. Roach can see daylight. He gives the pass up there very well for another Balmain try. That's Brooks who scored it. Well, it was a matter of time. Parrish probably took the wrong option and giving it inside to Freeman instead of staying out on the left, where they had 2 or 3 unmarked attackers. Boyle's getting a lecture from referee McCullum, one of several South people in the course of this match so far. So Brooks, the replacement for Paul Sirinen, rewarded with a try after backing up Roach on the inside there. Blocker was dragging a couple of defenders with him, getting through the tackle, keeping his arms free, and then he waited for the runner to come onto the pass. The half-time siren has gone. And it's 26-0. And Brasher's got the opportunity to make it 28. Brasher's got 3 from 5 at this stage. So a commanding half-time lead, even though they'll have to run into the wind in the second half, which should be enough to get the Tigers home. Tim Brasher moves into it. He's missed this one, so at half-time at Leichhardt Oval, Balmain 26, South Sydney 0.
I've been to cities that never close down, from LA to Rome and old London town, but no matter how far or how wide I roam, I still call Australia home. I'm always traveling, I love being free, so I keep leaving the sun and the sea, but my heart is waiting over the phone. I still call Australia home.
It's a long way to pull back there for the Rabbitohs in first grade. 26-0, and Balmain have looked most impressive on the first half performance. McCarthy kicks off. And Gary Jack pops it up there for Freeman. McGarry. And he makes it in that centre field position that coaches require, so that the players have got the option of going either side of the ruck. And they make the quarter now, Balmain through Brasher. And Elias cleans up a loose play the ball there. Back inside for Parrish. Phil Blakehammer just come into the field now for South. A bit slow to come back in the second half. But anyway, Gary Jack, after Roach gave him the ball, he schemes for some open space and makes a few metres before Terry Hill and Craig Coleman take him. 5 metres out from their quarter. McFarlane gives it to Elias for the kick. gets it away from Maybon, but he can run under it quite comfortably. And it's pressure there with Grant to chase and take it 5 metres short of halfway in South Territory. Maven gives it to O'Day. Going across field. Picked off there by McFarlane and also Parrish. Mark Carroll straightens into 3 defenders. The Tigers put him down. McFarlane, the main tackler. This is Davidson unloading well to Fennick. Fennick gives it across to Blake and then to Brown. Darren Brown, centre for the day, normally a second rower or back row forward. There's Blakey, the call coming from Boyley, but David Boyle couldn't hold that, and the knock-on will be played. So this is scrum to pack about 11 metres inside Balmain territory. And Gary Freeman to feed it. The Kiwi test half is having a very outstanding match. A strong season. Balmain ball 10 metres short of halfway. At the backs through Brasher to Jack chiming in. Grant tried to run around the wing of McGarry, but he couldn't unload it after Maven wrestled into the ground. McFarlane trying to drive up to halfway. He's about 5 metres short. Spinning in the defence with Boyle. Freeman gives it on to Edmed. Tries to stand on load. And the ball's lost as Davidson gets it. Wasn't really on. Edmund was well held. Hill trying to scoot away from dummy half. He does so. Get away from Elias. McNeil tries to take him along with Blocker Roach. Garlic from dummy half. 2 metres short of the quarter. Fennick now. Coleman. Blake. Long passes. An even longer one now out to Maven. Maven tried to get it to O'Day, who was coming inside of him. Not good communication between the two there. Maven gave it to where he thought O'Day was, and O'Day was on his way inside. Ball going loose. So another Freeman feed and another Balmain win in the scrums. Gary Jack to get it out wider, giving good room now to Grant. Grant gives on to Brasher in full flight. Takes the winger and gives it on now to O'Brien, one of the best finishers in the game. Can O'Brien outpace Terry Hill? Hill comes at him and gets him just 2 metres short of the line. Good cover defence by the lock. And an effort there by Grant to just dummy from dummy half and go in the 2 metres right on the line. His nose on the try line. Couldn't be any closer. O'Brien gives it across to Freeman, to Brasher. Out now to Brooks. Brooks gives it on to Parrish, and they've got plenty of numbers now, Balmain, with that chain passing. But Parrish held it instead of giving it. He gives it inside to Gary Jack, who will get there, though. Gary Jack will score the try. Well, that's put the icing on the cake. A 30-0 lead. You can't imagine South Sydney coming back from that position, even with the conditions the way they are with the breeze. Well, Balmain worked it very well after stretching South completely to the left-hand side of the field. Terry Hill just making the last-ditch tackle on O'Brien to stop the try. They went to the other corner. Matt Parrish appeared to hesitate for a while there and perhaps spoil the opportunity. But when he picked up Gary Jack on the inside, Gary Jack knew his way to the line well and truly. So they've shared the tries around. 6 tries to the Tigers. Gary Jack, Damien McGarry, James Grant, Michael Neal, Gary Freeman and David Brooks. All except Brooks, of course, in the backs. So the Tigers playing a very attractive brand of football. Ball's fallen off the mound, so time out as Tim Brasher has another attempt to set this. We're only 5 minutes into the second half. And Balmain 30, Souths 0. It's quite a Western Suburbs connection running through the Balmain side. Gary Jack, Tim Brasher, Michael Neal, Gary McFarlane, all have been with West. Of course, the injured John Elias. That's a great kick from Tim Brasher, young West junior originally, now with the Balmain Tigers. Gives him his 4th goal. And a scoreline of 32 points to 0 for Balmain over Souths. So Darren McCarthy with that shorter kick off once more. Taking a lot of time over the kick. And it goes straight to Gary Jack, who takes it above his head very well there. Gives it on to Brasher. And he gets about 13 metres out from his own line. Knocked down again by Coleman, but play on, says the ref. Freeman gives it across to Roach. He picks up Gary Jack skirting wide. Ball goes in behind McGarry on the wing there. And McCallum rules a knock on, which doesn't please some of the elements of the Balmain crowd. Perhaps McGarry was a bit unlucky. Scrum to pack for Coleman to feed, and one of the rare attacking opportunities. South should get possession, and they're inside the Balmain quarter as Coleman goes from the scrum base. Scrums at the moment 9-5 in favour of Balmain, as McCarroll takes it up to about 6 metres out. Boyle reversing it now to Davidson, coming strongly. Gives it up to Carroll again. Carroll sets his side on the line, gets the arms free and swivels around to score. Carroll been given the try by McCallum. He had to get his arms free first of all, and then he took a couple of Balmain players with him as he swivelled in to score about 5 metres from the corner post. So South Sydney finally on the board. Mark Carroll topping off his test selection week with a try for the Rabbitohs. Much has been said about Tim being the most consistent player and the only bright spot for the Rabbitohs through the year, and it certainly has been the case. But he gained his rewards when so many other players were unavailable to take that back row position in the test ranks. And of course he got a run on in the test match at Parkes when Paul Sirinen was injured. And Paul Sirinen's injury, of course, kept him out of this game today for Balmain. Well, the goal-kicking duties for South Sydney have gone to Darren McCarthy. I'd venture that the breeze in this second half isn't as strong as it was through the second half of reserve grade. So the afternoon has become a little tamer, if anything. That storm that threatened to really go right across the Leichhardt Oval, in fact, skirted around, and calmer conditions have prevailed. McCarthy's kick looks good, but not quite. Must have been to the left of the post there. So the score remains Balmain 32 and South's 4, 8 minutes into the second half. So this is a rare moment, really. Benny Elias gets to kick off. We've seen plenty of South kick off so far. The restart. Drive it down towards the try line to Maybon, who sits it up for Mark Carroll, who stretches out towards the centre of the quarter and takes players with him, 4 in fact, as he gets outside the quarter line. Garlick trying to organise a quick play of the ball, and it's Les Davidson going further ahead for South, taken there by Elias and also by Edmed. So put up for Blake to kick early, and he finds plenty of open space. Gary Jack scurrying across the quarter line. In fact, midway between his try line and the quarter when he collects it. Gets away. No, he doesn't get away from O'Day, but he got his pass away to McGarry, the winger, and he's taken out wide by Maven. Gary Jack at dummy half. Freeman onto O'Brien, the left winger, coming in to help. He's 3 metres outside the quarter. There's Brooks running onto it. Ball taken around the legs by Garlick, the hooker. Boyle in the tackle as well. This is Edmed powering ahead, about midway between the quarter and half now. Davidson in the defence, along with Boyle. Steve Roach taken by Boyle and Davidson. Last tackle against the Tigers. 10 metres short of halfway as Benny Elias finds Gary Jack for the kick. And it was out on the full, only by a metre at the most. So it was touch and go there. Being the changeover, though, since it was the last tackle. And McCallum wants it back on the mark, which they didn't really get to anyway, but Garlick played it, and here's Fennick going ahead. Elias trying to steal that ball from him, but no luck. Well, Fennick perhaps overacting, but it's been rewarded with a penalty. And McCallum ruling that the Balmain players didn't allow him to play it quickly enough. I think you can chalk that one up to Mario. Touch found just inside the quarter on the grandstand side. The tap from Sean Garlick. David Boyle taking it up. But there's Edmed and McFarlane to meet him. Mark Carroll. Brooks the tackler. Elias comes over the top. Crisscross with Coleman, then Blake, and now Terry Hill coming onto it. He really did push Edmed out of the road. It's finally tackled there by Brooks. Here's Blake scheming around with Coleman. Coleman come back inside, just about 6 metres short of the line. Garlick at dummy half, looking for a runner, and he dummies and goes himself, and he's got in under the post. He was going to pick up Mark Carroll for the runner, but he decided he could do it himself. He did a bit of a semicircle and dived under a couple of Balmain defenders beside the left-hand upright. Well, Sean Garlick, in his third first-grade game, has taken to first grade very naturally. He's been a strong performer in recent times, a year and a half, for example, in second grade for South. A very good defensive player and schemes quite well from dummy half as well. Well, South are coming back, but to get those 32 points the Balmain have got on the board in the next 28 minutes will be quite an achievement, especially since Mark Carroll seems to be in some trouble here. Two of the South trainers leading him to the sideline. The test player limping off, so that's a setback for Souths. McCarthy from in front. He's kicked this one. So 1:02 for Darren McCarthy, and it's now Balmain 32 and South Sydney 10. 28 minutes to go in the match. Jim Sedaris is the replacement on for Mark Carroll, who's being checked out there by Dr. Nathan Gibbs at the sideline. So it's probably a headbin situation at the moment, but the way he's limping, there's probably not much chance he will return. Well, the ball dropped by Davidson. A clumsy error by South Sydney, taking the pressure away from their comeback efforts, giving an opportunity back to Balmain to feed some 10 metres out from the line, pretty much towards the centre of the field. They should get possession, of course. Freeman feeds it. Balmain come up with it. Brasher at 5'8" on that occasion. Neal out in the centres, and Neal can't pick up Brasher in the run around that time. There's Matt Parrish, taken by his opposite number in Terry Hill. It was Garlick around the legs. Edmed driving straight up, beats one, beat Boyle in fact, Davidson rather, before being taken by Mario Fennick. Through Freeman to Broach, back to Freeman, floats one to Brasher. It does well to take that with the defence on him. Coleman finally gets him down with the assistance of McCarthy. Elias picking up McFarlane. McFarlane taken well in that tackle there by Mario Fennick. It's the last tackle. Benny Elias puts the bomb up. There's plenty of pressure for Maybon to try and get under it. He does well. He runs to it well and takes it. Ball swirling around up there. South in possession right on their own line through O'Day. Swung to the ground by Elias. Jim Sedaris coming on as a replacement for Mark Carroll. Steve Edmed is leaving the field for Balmain, and the replacement there is number 24. Number 24, Paul Upfield, on for Balmain. We'll have a discussion with the touch judges coming in to join the ref here. So Paul Upfield is on the field for the former Illawarra player, for Steve Edmed, who has been taken off. Well, quite a discussion. David Boyle pleading innocence there, it seems. Steve Roach in the discussion. Sorry, I'm doing Blocker Roach an injustice. It was Brooks, David Brooks, who was the other player, the Balmain player who was being spoken to. So the penalty to South, and Blake finds touch right at halfway. Penalties at the moment are 7-5 for South. Here's David Boyle straight into the fray off the Garlick tap. Some 6 metres in Balmain territory. Maybon scurrying from dummy half a couple more metres before McFarlane gets him. Dummy from Fennick. That move that Davidson comes off. Gives it well to Garlick, who did brilliantly to handle that. A real juggling act. 10 metres short of the Tigers' quarter. It's Coleman looking for a runner, but he's cut off by Parrish. A bit too far away as the Balmain outside backs were getting between him and his supports. Blake. That's to Maybon. He didn't do the run around. O'Day went straight ahead and still making ground, beating several defenders, stepping very, very well. and finally taken on the last line by Gary Jack. It's the last tackle against Souths, and the ball's put up there by Terry Hill. Good positional bomb, but Gary Jack takes it brilliantly. It's Matt Parrish now taken, Brasher. And Parrish looked quite similar length of hair. Of course, with the number 3 and 13, the numbers look very similar as well, of course, from the glimpses you get. Here's Gary Jack, ridden to the ground by Mario Fennick. It's got to be a penalty. And even if Gary Jack was overacting, Mario was guilty of that earlier on to succeed in getting a South Sydney penalty, so he hasn't got too much to grumble about. The penalty right on 12 metres out from the Balmain line. They get the play outside the quarter. Benny Elias to take the tap. Freeman, McNeil, across to Brasher. Still going forward before his legs are taken out by Blake. Thoughts of a penalty there from McCullum, I think, too, as Blake pushed him over again. This is Roach. Boyle and Blake there in defence. Blake's already had some sin bin in the first half for obstructing, and he's getting very close to it again with his obstruction there. But anyway, play goes on as McFarlane comes back towards the ruck. There's Sean Garlick around the legs and Boyle over the top. Benny Elias tries to get the kick in, gets around Coleman, slips over in the attempt at the kick, and the pressure put on him by Hill, and Maven cleans up for Souths just at halfway. Sedaris to Coleman, comes to Fennick, goes back inside, and picks up Maven, who's heavily taken there by McGarry, just waiting on that pass. The blind side with Sedaris, and Elias comes in to tackle him along with Matt Parrish. And the ball goes loose. No, sorry, it doesn't go loose. Don't know why I thought that, but sorry about that. Coleman passing to, in the end himself, he had to go back and pick up the ball. It was Boyle going the open side and totally away from the direction of that pass. Blind side. That was the indication from Garlick, but he held onto it and just got inside the Balmain half. It's the last tackle. They do go blind side with the ball that was quite forward to Coleman. He picks up O'Day on the left wing, and O'Day can't make any more progress. Desperately gives the ball inside. But it seems McCullum had called on O'Day to... No, they've gone into touch. Actually, the touch judge was a bit hard to pick up, blending in with the white background sign. Starting up involving Phil Blake and perhaps one of the Balmain forwards. Very lively exchange there with all the players milling around, but basically players on both sides trying to keep the combatants apart. Only really the two in the fight, I would think. Matt Parrish going among some of the Balmain players and taps on the shoulder and calming words, trying to keep things calmed down. James Grant being spoken to with his captain Benny Elias, and Phil Blake with his captain Mario Fennick. The two touch judges reporting. And a send-off for Phil Blake. Phil Blake had been, as I mentioned, sin bin in the first half for obstructing. He's been close to incurring some penalties in the recent minutes of this match, but ruled to be the aggressor in that incident. Seems very distraught about it, and gave the touch judge a few anguished looks as he went past him. I don't think he said anything to him, but it was the touch judge with the blue flag on our camera side of the field who I think gave the bulk of the report there as far as the send-off was concerned. This is O'Brien now for Balmain. South with 12 men. Roach powering into the forwards. Davidson over the top. Garlick under back. Roach appealing to the touch judge on that occasion, I think. Neil now to Brasher. A long ball out for Grant. They left out Gary Jack. And that pass there, Maven who takes him around the legs. Coleman over the top. Bit of pushing going on. Juggling act from Freeman to keep possession for Balmain there. 10 metres inside South Territory. This is Brooks. Last tackle. And Breeze kicking up again now very strongly at Leichhardt as McFarlane goes from dummy half, goes right through, picks up Freeman very well. He's got support, and it'll be Brooks go all the way to the line. No, just short of it on the last tackle. Well, there was only centimetres in that. David Brooks could see his second try looming up there. A day clearing it for Souths. And that Breeze is really, in the last minute or so, just really kicked up again to what it was during the latter stages of reserve grade before the Storm went skirting around Leichhardt Oval.